sometimes ruminating, contemplating, thinking about, just letting an idea breathe, and you may come up with a better idea. Now, to be said, I'm not saying that this is a better idea. The proof will be in the pudding, as the old timers used to say. I don't know, but I just came downstairs like 5 seconds ago after a very wonderful day hanging out with family and friends. I just came downstairs and I was looking at this, and so here's the lay of the land. Forget all the pieces over there right now and all the wires I pulled out of here that no longer have to be in there. So here's the down low. Here's the biz. Here's the, and I mentioned I'm gonna lose one of these, and I already did. That is, I said I was gonna do it, and I did it. There it is. Do not lose these. You can't get them anymore. These, I think there's a third party. I think there's a third party that's either making them or whatever. But anyway, so here's the biz, here's the down low. So I found out many moons ago that the best way to, because this was over a decade, almost 2 decades in the, probably over 2 decades in the making. Yes, before Sandy. So well over 2 decades in the making. That externally powered monorail, for me, is the way to go. Period. Because what it offers so much. But literally the most important thing is I'm not replacing batteries. The batteries at our first bunch of shows were horrendous. I mean, replacing batteries on a monorail is, and any standard monorail, is a piece of cake, because it's just a battery box, and you take out the old 9-volt and you put in the new 9-volt. The problem is that, of course, as you can see, well, when this thing was together, that the battery box is built into a vehicle, a monorail train. You have to take apart the train to get access to the battery, and it's just because. So, numero uno, it eliminates the batteries. Numero dos, number 2, is that you can do so much more. Train controllers, RCXs, and now you have a programmable, not the actual train is programmable, but the track itself is programmable. And I even if you want to get really, really cool, and I did this, and I'm not doing it right now, but Mark Riley's LDCC, and controlling the monorail like with a DCC controller. And then you got variable speeds, and if you get your pickups done properly, you can go forwards and backwards, blah, blah. So it adds so much more. But for me, for shows, I'm not replacing batteries, and I'm not watching the train go slower and slower and slower on the track. The downside, as I found out for many years, is that the slot cars and the slot cars that we had when we were kids, and the pickups on the actual cars, professionally made and work perfectly well with the slot cars on the slot car track with the metal pickups. Hardly ever. But I do remember as a kid, my brother had a slot car racetrack, that every once in a while you had to look at and replace the pickups, the braided wire. Sometimes it loses connectivity. I think the best slot car setup I've ever seen was when I was a little older and too old for slot cars. They came out with the thin rails around the track, and the slot cars were like 1/4 the size as the slot car track that I had, but my brother had. But the cars had a little floating metal pad instead of braided wire, and the metal pad was spring loaded, so it pushed down onto the track. And it was a very, very light spring, but it would just always push onto the metal rails around the track, which I thought was brilliant. I remember that. This guy, because it's not professionally made, I made it, not professional at all, is that I did what I could with the copper tape that people use for stained glass window stuff, and then I just made and I put it on the monorail track, which isn't professional by any stretch, but it worked. the issue is that every so often, actually a lot more often than not, and this is why it wasn't show worthy for the longest time, every so often the pickups would not be touching the metal track for whatever incongruities, whatever, it just wouldn't. And that's because I only had one set of pickups, like that, one set of pickups, and sooner or later they just wouldn't touch the track. But no matter how much weight I put on them, because I was trying to put tons of weight on to put it on, I said that this is getting obscene. So I came up with a couple of years back 2 sets of pickups. Because if one fails, the other one's going to be there. And then it added just a little bit more of a complexity, because this side has to be that side, or else you cross and you short out the track. This side has to be that side. But after I did that, no problems that I remember, unless the monorail fell off the track, or the wires get so, the pickups get so broken up and or bird's nest that they stop working. But if in a regular event, they work perfectly fine. The problem with those pickups is you can only go in one direction, because as soon as you go backwards, the braided wire just becomes the complete bird's nest and they break off. But it still worked. So when it was working as well as I could have it for a public show, because I said it has to be show worthy. I've talked about that in the past with the stuff that I keep on working on. It has to be show worthy in order for me to present it at a show. I've had so many things over the years in the space layout that I thought would be show worthy, and yet they failed. And one failure usually comes up the entire works, like my door that goes up and down and the vehicle that comes out. I played with it forever here, tweaking it, making it better, modifying it, so it was 100% flawless here in this basement. I take it to a show. It ran for an hour perfectly well, and all of a sudden it stopped. And what happened is that the door got halfway up and it got stuck, and then the vehicle tried to push through the door, and it was a disaster. It was all of a sudden fixing it. Of course, that's in the middle of the layout for me to access it, next to impossible. So I had to wait till I bring it back home and take the whole thing apart and fix it. I said, screw it. That door hasn't been up and down at a show for a long time. I had the shuttle mover arm. That was, I thought, fantastic, because it transferred the shuttle from the monorail onto the vehicle that was moving around. Fantastic. It worked forever here. I've had half a day at BrickFet 2014 or whatever it was, 2015. Stopped. And I don't have the luxury of taking that thing apart to figure out what's wrong with it. So I want things to be show worthy, because it takes a lot of time to set this stuff up. And then I'm babysitting it. Again, the more complexity you had, the more movement you had, the more complex movement you had, the more you have to babysit it. And I wanted to reduce that. So the double pickups set it for me that the monorails now, when they have 2 pickups, 2 sets of pickups, pretty much flawless. And then I added the RCX with the light sensors to sense where the things were, so it would stop at every station. Overall, pretty good. Now, it does take a little bit of what I noticed at Niagara Falls Comic Con is that, especially this heavy guy, is that as the day progresses and the temperature in the room as the day progresses and as the temperature either fluctuated too hot or too cold, it affected the speed of the actual monorail. It did, which is odd, because the RCX is on or off, full or zero, and so either the train is falling behind in the station, stopping before it gets to the station, or stopping after the station. I have to go change the code again. It's not a variable code. I wish I could do that. But it didn't affect all the trains. Well, it affected all the trains, but it depends on how heavy it was. The heavier it was, and this was the heaviest, it would the timing would be way off. Or I just let it go, and just so it stops a couple inches behind the station or a couple inches in front of the station. Only I care. So, but my number one thing, because it sat in Jamie's shop for 3 months and the pickups got completely worn out and blah blah blah. So I'm trying to come up with a better solution for that, again, because again, I don't want to keep on babysitting this and taking it apart and put wires in. So what I did is I put extra wire hidden inside. So as it wears off, I can just pull it out and, you know, take off the insulation, and there you go. So that should be a quick fix until the wire's done, and take it out. So, but I'm hoping it'll last a couple of years, because some of these pickups lasted years. Like these pickups in this guy, I made years ago. Those ones still work. Those ones wore out and these ones wore out, but that's fine. I'll replace them right now with longer wire, you know, a nice long wire, and then I'm gonna spool it up inside and then whatever. So, but my thing about this guy, I'll put that in the middle because it's supposed to be, this guy, is that it lights up. Sort of that one a little bit, but this one, I built 16 life lights in this, 16 life lights, 2 life light kits you can see here and here, because I don't want to take all that out because it's a lot of wiring. And the power has to come from the pickups, right? And before, I had like 3 or 4 of these ends coming to a 2x8 electric plate here, and then I put the 9-volt to 3-volt converter, this all here, this guy on there, and that worked, but that takes up a lot of room and a lot of wiring and a lot of like whatever. And so I was saying, oh, but I'm gonna replace it with this wire. It's gonna be in the front, it's gonna be in the back, and then it's gonna have that connector in the middle like I did before. So the connector's gonna be right here in the middle like that kind of thing. And then this is gonna be to pick up 1 in the front, pick up 2 in the back. But then I'm thinking, if that's it, there's no way I'm getting power into the vehicle for the life lights kits. Because I cannot put, this is the example, let's use this thing. I cannot put the life lights, this was just in my hand. It was right here. I cannot put the life lights kit on here. That doesn't work. See, I can't do that. That's not gonna work. I have to get this 9-volt to 3-volt converter inside these vehicles, inside these Monorail engines. And I said, well, then I have to, the wires are going to be connected here, and then I have to put another one here to bring the power back inside. No, that's just too wide now. So I'm going to do what I did before, is I'm going to put multiple connectors on here, like that, like this, and have this one up here somewhere inside the vehicle, and then I can put the converter on that, the 9-volt to 3-volt converter. But then, because before I had this extra long wire, life lights wire, going from the front one where all the power was to the back one so I could light up. And I'm going, I don't have to do that now. I do not have to have this wire as well as this wire going between the 2 vehicles. I don't have to do that, because I can do all of it with this one wire by putting 3 connectors on it. 1 for the motor in the middle, a connector for the motor in the middle, 1 here, and 1 back. Just back here, and then I can have 2, because I do have, thankfully Rob was very nice to me, I do have a bunch of 9-volt to 3-volt converters. I have a bunch of them, so this is gonna make my life stupendously easier, and I won't have to use up so much space in these vehicles for all the wiring. And I only have 1 wire going from here to here to here instead of 2 wires, which causes more of a mess. I actually have to go do some other stuff for my beautiful wife. But so I have a plan that I did not have until I came down here 10 minutes ago or 13 minutes ago when I was looking at it. But no, I like his plan better. I'm gonna do this plan instead of what I actually had originally planned, which was have everything going back to here and then bringing yet another wire for lighting back over to here. And I'm gonna have just 1 wire going through the whole train, to the 2 life lights kits as well as to the pickups, and be done with it. I think that's going to be fantastic, and we'll wait and see. So this will be as a surprise for me it is to you. So I will talk to you guys soon, and take care.